All right, so this video is going to be a retro video. I'm going to show you a Keezer that I built a while back, a couple years ago, but I'll walk you through the process and the materials needed and show you how you can do it and build one just like this. Now I'll run through the costs. And when all is said and done, you can build a Keezer like this one for somewhere between $500 and $700. That's a wide range because it depends on what parts you select, the quality of the parts, and regulators, because they really vary in price depending on what you decide that you want to use, tap wise, freezer wise, as well as the cost of the kegs themselves tend to fluctuate drastically depending on the supply and the demand that's available at the current time. Now I'll provide links in the description below to all the materials that I use to construct the Keezer. Except for the wood, I purchased that at Home Depot. But for all the parts, all the hardware, even the freezer itself, I purchased all of those online at Amazon, and I'll put links down in the description to show you exactly what I used. So let me show you the Keezer. So let's open it up and take a look inside. So you can see I have the CO2 tank here. We have our dual pressure regulator, and we have two manifolds. This is for high pressure. This is for low pressure. Low pressure, I can run 4 kegs off of. The high pressure, I can run 1 or 2 kegs off of. Currently, the way that it's set up, I can run 1 keg, and this other one is for quick carbonation. The regulator that I use is a tap right. They seem to be the most reliable from my research. I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 kegs in here now. I can fit a 5th shorty on top of this shelf right here, which I have, the shorty keg. I just need to brew a batch to put in there. This freezer that I use is not tall enough to house these kegs. So I built this riser out of a piece of 2x6, give me enough space to fit everything in here that I need to. In addition, that gives me a place to run my taps through. When you're assembling this, you want to make sure that you put a good coat of gloss exterior paint on here so it doesn't absorb any moisture. And you can see the construction of the wrapping. I have 2x4s at each corner. And then mounted to those 2x4s, I have this cedar material. The vent cut out. The cedar on the top is also supported by 2x4s. You can see that go around the outside. Those are just screwed right in to the top of the freezer that way. And the hinges, I had to undo, which were mounted down here, and just raise them up to this part. Mounted these little handles, gives me a place to hold on to when I lift it up. Also handles on the side there. My drip tray. Now this is also sitting on castors that are recessed, so you can't see it. It actually looks like it's sitting on the ground. There's 2x4s, but they're not. This is on wheels. It's probably about a 1/4 inch off the ground. Now, since we're using freezer, you'll have to remove the thermostat, which has 2 adjustments. Now, this is the fine adjustment right here, where you can make very fine adjustments. Now, if you open this up, on the inside, there's a screw on the thermostat that is Loctited in place, and you can see the Loctite on the outside of the screw. That is the coarse adjustment. So obviously it's a freezer, it's designed to operate below freezing. But if you adjust that screw on the coarse adjustment, you can get this to maintain just above freezing. This fine adjustment here will probably adjust this between 36 and 42 degrees. All right, so now I'm going to run down all the materials that I needed to complete my Keezer project. So the first thing that you're going to need is to get yourself a freezer that fits the size of the number of kegs or taps of your choosing. Then you're going to need to purchase either a 2x6, 2x8, or 2x10, depending on what height you decide that you want, to go around the top of the Keezer that I showed you on mine where it's painted white. Now you'll also need to get 2x4s for the construction as well as the base. And don't forget, if you choose to put yours on castors like mine, that you'll need to get castors as well. You'll also need to purchase whatever you decide that you want to wrap the Keezer in, or freezer, Keezer or freezer. I did mine in cedar closet liner. And don't forget, whatever color stain you want to put on top of the wood, or if you just want to keep yours natural like I did, I just put a coating of polyurethane on top. So next, we'll talk about the hardware. First, you need to select your taps. You want to select your taps based on the type of beers that you plan to be brewing. So on mine, I have a total of 5 taps. One of my taps, the tap in the center with the large tap, is designed for champagne or wine or sparkling water. I also have a Guinness tap or a stout tap, and then I have 3 regular taps. So once you decide what kind of beers you're going to be brewing and what taps you're going to purchase, you want to figure out if you want to have dual pressure or single pressure. The dual pressure gauges are more expensive, and then you also have to purchase additional lines and an extra manifold. So if you're going to construct yours like mine with dual pressure, you'll need 2 manifolds. I chose the large one to be for my regular style beers, and then the smaller one for the high pressure stouts. So you've got your regulator selected, you've got your manifold selected. Now you need to connect them together, so you need to purchase your CO2 lines. I chose to use blue and red just so I can differentiate between the high pressure and the low pressure at a glance. And to secure the CO2 lines, you'll need small worm clamps. I think I bought a big bag of 25 and they were pretty inexpensive. I'll go ahead and I'll put the link to that in the description, as well as the link to all the other pieces and parts that I used to put it together. Next, you're going to need your ball lock or pin lock connectors. Depending on the type of kegs that you select, some are ball lock and some are pin lock, and they require different style connections. So the ball lock corny kegs or Cornelius kegs were typically used by Pepsi, and the pin lock Cornelius kegs were typically used by Coca-Cola. I found that the ball lock kegs tended to be a little bit taller and skinnier, which allowed me to fit more kegs in my Keezer, so I went with those. So if you know how many kegs you want to fit in your Keezer, research the size of each of those kegs, depending on if you go with the pin lock or the ball lock, and then you'll know how big of a freezer you need to purchase so you can fit all of those inside. You also need to purchase some screws to put the framing together, and I use this small nail gun to attach the cedar to the 2x4 frame. It's not required, but if you choose to, you can put some decorative pieces on there, like I did with the little handles in the front of the lid, as well as on the side. And I put a nice trim piece around the top, which I put a nice router edge on that as well, just to make it look a little bit more finished. So once you have your freezer, earlier I mentioned that you need to take the thermostat out, and there's a coarse adjustment screw on the inside that you'll see some Loctite on. So you're going to want to run your freezer or Keezer overnight as you make your adjustments, and then keep checking your temperature until you find the sweet spot. I think it took me maybe 3 or 4 times before I got it right where I wanted it. And then once that coarse adjustment is set, don't forget you still have the fine adjustment that's on the outside that you can fine tune it. As always, guys, thanks for watching my videos. If there's any areas that you think that I can improve, please let me know in the comments. I appreciate your feedback and hope that I can continue to bring you quality videos.